My name's Richard D. Hall, and my trained profession is I'm an electrical engineer. I became a chartered electrical engineer in '98, but I gave all that up in 2002. I set up my own business, and I've predominantly been doing web design. But in the last 2 or 3 years, I've become more and more involved and interested in the UFO subject because gradually, as I've looked at more and more evidence, objectively, I have to say, there's no doubt in my mind that the UFO phenomenon is real, and it is linked to many other phenomena, and it's being covered up. When I say covered up, it's not, they don't go around, locking people up who open their mouths. It's a very subtle kind of cover-up. It's an encouragement of debunking. It's muddying the waters, disinformation. This is why the mass populace thinks there's nothing to it, because what gets in the mainstream media is generally disinformation. So I'm on a campaign because I believe that once the secrets of UFOs come out, that there's a whole raft of other information to do with who we are, where we came from, our spiritual origins, our genetic origins, and that's the information that I want to get at. So I see the UFO, the releasing of the true information as an avenue to learn more about ourselves. Some people would go to a church to learn about themselves. I don't think the answers lie there.
You mentioned that there were those who know about UFO situation. Michael Portillo was one of them that I noted down, and you quoted him in saying, "I know much and I say little." Mm-hmm. Do you think we can get people like this talking, and if so, how?
Well, I think it's very difficult, because if they've signed the Official Secrets Act, and once they're privy to that information, generally they're actually reminded of that Official Secrets Act, and often they're asked to sign it again in relation to specific information. And, the punishment for breaking that is prison. So it's very difficult to get people to break their silence on such things. Timothy Good is probably a person who has managed to get people to speak to him through, and I did ask him, how do you manage to do that? And he said, very, very slowly. And that's how you do it. You have to get people's trust, and you can only do that by meeting them face to face. You can't do it by email or over the phone. They have to trust you, and let's say they don't want their name put forward. It's a case of getting in front of them, getting to meet these people, getting to meet people perhaps in MI5 or MI6 or wherever they might be, finding out who they are, and it's very much almost a kind of diplomacy, I guess, to get people to speak. Very, very slow and careful, and making people trust you, I guess. And it's something that, to be honest, I have not really tackled. I've more been looking at evidence on the ground and witness testimony, rather than trying to track down people in the know. Are we free here in the UK? I would say within limits. Everybody thinks they're free, but I would say that, David Icke calls it the prison without bars, where people, as long as they believe there is democracy and they have enough material wealth, then they think they will be free. But I think democracy has been subverted, I believe, and our government has very little power. There are people above the level of government who have power, who coerce that government. So I believe that the majority of people think they're free, but they don't realise that they're actually living in a controlled environment, or in a box, so to speak.
You approached David Cameron. Have you any plans to tackle other leaders who may have information?
Yes, I did originally try to contact Gordon Brown, and I wanted to get into the Prime Minister's press conference, because after all, he is the Prime Minister, and I found that impossible. So it's nigh on impossible for a member of the public to actually confront the Prime Minister, which I found rather disappointing. And a number of people on my website have written to their own MP to ask questions. And of course, if you write to anyone else other than your own MP, you get the standard MP's reply, which is, I'm sorry, you're not a member of my constituency, I don't have any responsibility for you, please go away. That's what they say, always. And so I have approached my own MP, Dave Anderson, who was very, very good, I have to say. I showed him my animal mutilation DVD. He was very concerned by it, and he has written to the Secretary of State, Hilary Benn, and I still have an answer from Hilary Benn, but that wasn't too long ago. So, you know, I take my hat off to Dave Anderson. He's a Labour MP for my constituency, and he has fully taken on board what I've said to him. I haven't mentioned the UFO situation, although I have said to him that I researched that field, but the animal mutilation phenomena, there's tangible, solid evidence which, you know, an MP can take up with the Secretary of State. So he's helped me in that respect.
Do you think 2012 has anything to do with disclosure?
In a word, no. I think at 2012 there is a physical galactic alignment, which is the alignment of the Earth's axis with the Sun and the centre of our galaxy. Okay, now that alignment occurs once every 26,000 years, and that's an astronomical fact. It's also a fact that the main calendar ends on that particular date, and to me that proves that well, it wasn't the Mayans who devised that calendar for a start, it was people before them who handed them that calendar, but it proves that wherever that calendar came from, they had advanced knowledge of astronomy and mathematics, because in order to know where that end point is, you need to know where the centre of our galaxy is. And they must have had advanced, either very powerful telescopes, advanced knowledge of the mechanics of our galaxy. And there's just, if you read the normal history books, they don't say that. So there was advanced knowledge at least 5,000, probably even 10 or 15,000 years ago. Now, and they knew that this was a line in the sand, as it were, of the 26,000 year precession of the equinox's cycle. So I would say that it's a line in the whether things are going to change, I don't know. I don't know whether there's, I mean, I think that the coming of Planet X, I'm sceptical over that, and I don't think that's going to coincide with the 2012 date. I think people are mixing that up. But I doubt whether the government would choose that date for disclosure. No, I can't see that.
You say that the MOD's declassification isn't for real, and that many of the documents released are watered down or some haven't been included. Can you tell me how you know this? Well,
when I interviewed Timothy Good, he told me that in these UFO file releases, no secret files have been released, and very few secret files it was, and no top secret files have ever been released. The files that have been released are classified and things like that. I gather they're not of the top secret classification. And when the first release came, it was quite exciting because people were looking at them, and we thought, this is the start of a disclosure process to kind of move the public towards eventually accepting the facts. Having had 4 releases since then, and in each release there's this executive summary put out where if there's a few kind of golden nuggets in those files, the executive summary always waters down and basically debunks those files. So I believe that they're being put out to say, this is all the information is, there's nothing to it. So where are these UFOs? So the first release, I had a different opinion, and I've changed my opinion now. I think it's a disinformation exercise, full stop.